Hey everybody, it's Dr. Hines. I am here to check in with you. I hope everybody has been okay over these last couple weeks. I know that if you're anything like me, your life has been turned upside down. Um, the most important thing is that you're healthy and you're safe, and we can figure everything else out. So I have actually been working for the past 2 weeks, even though you all have probably been on a pause. All of the online classes have been progressing as usual, so I have been very busy over the last couple weeks still working with my other two courses. It was midterm, so lots of grading and things that came in right after spring break. I have been feverishly working on top of trying to figure out how to do school at home with three teenagers. So it's been a learning curve for sure, but we're trying to settle into a routine over here. So I hope you are trying to do that as well. So anyway, what I wanted to do was just have an opportunity to talk to you and kind of explain my thinking about how we're going to translate the rest of the term from an in-class course to an online course. And so I think one of the perks here is that, and I said this somewhere in some of the materials that I was preparing for you, that I've been teaching online for 10 years, so I'm very comfortable with it. And you may not be, but it's kind of what we have to do for the next 5 weeks. And so hopefully I have altered things in a way that will still be productive and will still serve you in kind of your learning about how to design materials and conduct methods for gifted students. I feel confident that you all will still have that skill set when you leave this course 5 weeks from now. What I have in front of you is just an addendum that I created where I put in here the things that we're going to change from earlier in the term, and I just want to talk you through that so you have all that information. As far as course requirements, because we're not meeting, the way that you will participate will be different. And so the major thing that will shift will be some what I call small group discussions that will happen every week. And so I have divided you all into two groups. And what I'm going to ask that you do is that sometime in the next few days, you email with the people in your group and you come up with a few things. The first being a name. It's kind of fun. I always challenge my online course to come up with something, spirited and fun to make it, just not boring. But anyway, to come up with a group name, and then the most important thing is to collectively decide on a day and time where you all can meet, because you all are going to meet once a week for about an hour-ish in a platform of your choice. So you can ask me to set up a Blackboard Collaborate classroom for you all to meet in. Everybody's using Zoom, so hopefully by now you know how to use a Zoom, but if not, I can help you learn how to do that, so you all could meet in a Zoom classroom or a Zoom space to do your discussion. There's also Google Hangouts. I've had people in the past who like Google Hangout and are comfortable with that. But anyway, everybody has to decide on a platform to use and a day and time. A suggestion would be to go ahead and do that on Monday evenings that you would have normally been in class, because everybody should have that time reserved. But why that doesn't make sense is because you will have to do some things to prepare for those discussions. So you will, but if your team wants to decide you want to be ready on Mondays, you all will just have to get your reading and things done. Actually, no, that won't work, because there'll be things that I need to prepare and release to you on Mondays that I will probably need to be getting together. So my goal is to have everything that you need by noon on Mondays. And so what you will need to do is, again, going back to your small groups, find a day and time that works. I would think something like a Wednesday evening or sometime on Thursday. Nobody really wants to have to meet on Fridays, but you probably need Monday and Tuesday to get your readings done and review some of the materials that I'll provide for you. So anyway, that's one of the things that you'll do this week, is you'll get your small group scheduled and get a name. There also is a folder in our course site where I have materials about how to conduct a small group. So basically what the small group is you all will meet together virtually live, and one person will serve as the facilitator for the group that week, and that person will prepare questions for discussion from our readings and our the things that we'll review, and that person will facilitate a discussion among group members. In that, so for example, this week our topics are critical thinking and problem-based learning. So I would imagine if you're the facilitator this week, you'll pick 2 or 3 questions from each of those topics, and you will also then have some questions that will be provided about the facilitation of discussion on differentiation. So this week was David's week to present to us. So I'm asking that he send to me those questions and activity that he would have had us do in class. And so that will be something that you all will do in your small group discussions. Obviously, if you have yet to do your facilitation of discussion, your activity needs to be something that can be done virtually. If people need to prepare some kind of materials or gather things, you want to have that information to me so that I can put that in our checklist or our session guide on Monday, so people will have that ready to use when they meet with their small groups. So hopefully that makes sense. So you'll meet once a week, do some discussions and some activities, and that will be kind of your participation grade for the next 5 weeks for class. One of the things I like about that is you're really still able to talk with your classmates and share ideas and thoughts and connections and experiences to still have that rich exchange that we have in our face-to-face courses. I actually do this in my online course, and I build those groups of people. Often, I don't just put all middle school people together and all elementary people. I like to have a mixture so that we can really see things from different angles and viewpoints and perspectives, because I think that adds a richness to the discussion that you might not get otherwise. The facilitator of those groups will then create a summary, a written summary, and that will be posted in the discussion area of our course site. So we have 5 weeks. There's about 4 or 5 of you in each group, so everybody will have one. There might be one person who gets 2 weeks, but you all will have those summaries as your participation grade for the week. So those chats are mandatory, so you need to, once you all decide on a common time that works for everybody, carve that out in your calendar for the next 5 weeks. So 2 of the things that we have left to share in our course were some of our participation activities. So, and even coronavirus aside, we got ushered out early on our last class meeting because of the flood at Adderhold. So it's been a crazy term for us on Monday nights. So anyway, you all were going to share your competition and special program that evening, and then you all also have at the very end of our term what's called the inspired product that you'll learn about a little bit more in a couple weeks. I'll share with you what that assignment is, but we're going to meet live twice to share those. So next Monday, April the 6th at 5, we will meet, and you all will have an opportunity to share those competitions and special programs. And likewise, on Monday the 27th, we will meet and you'll share your inspired products. So I don't imagine that taking more than 45 minutes to an hour to share those, typically like it would in class. Just want to give you about 5 minutes to share those findings. So those are still rich resources for everybody to learn about and be exposed to. So please mark your calendar for those 2 live sessions. Again, just kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, if you still have a facilitation of discussion on a differentiation topic that you haven't done yet, and that includes, let's see, David is this week, and then Grace, and then Caroline, and then Mackenzie, and then Valerie. You will still pretty much prepare the same way that you would if you were facilitating this in class. You'll still come up, you'll still do the readings, and you'll come up with some good questions that ask class members to really think and reflect on whatever your differentiation topic is, as well as come up with an experiential activity for us. Now, the thing that changes is that we're not all together in a room, so you have to think a little bit differently. So how can you design an activity for a virtual space where people are maybe in a Zoom classroom, 4 people, but can perform some kind of activity together. Again, you can send me directions for people if they need to have something made available to them in front of them while they're meeting with their group in order to do that activity. Happy to do that. So that, put that kind of in the mix when you're brainstorming and thinking about your activity. So that's how we will do the facilitation of discussion for the next few weeks. And I already talked about our 2 live. We'll meet in Blackboard Collaborate in our course site. If you have questions, if you've never done that before, most people have kind of done that by now, but if not, let me know and I will help you learn how to do Blackboard Collaborate. The only thing is you just have to make sure that your slides are turned in on that Sunday evening so that during the day on Monday I can get those assembled together to share for Monday night class. Now, the differentiated lesson plan. This is our really big assignment for the semester, and we have to think about this a little bit differently. Formerly, the way that you would do this is you have gathered this data or this information and done your observing on a group of students, and then you create a lesson design using all of those things that I have outlined in your assignment. And then you would turn that into me and I would give you feedback on that so that you could then go out and implement that lesson and then do a reflection and kind of a report, summary report in part 2. So we can't do that, right? We can't send you out to deliver lessons to kids in school buildings because kids are not in school buildings. So I've thought about this in a couple of different ways. I still want that part 1 to happen. I still want you to have that experience of information or data about a group of students and then being able to differentiate that and create that lesson design. And so my hope is that at the point at which all this started, I had given you all a week right before spring break to do observing. So my hope is that everybody was able to work with a teacher or work with their site or observe some kids to some degree, and that you have some information for which you can design a lesson around. Now, if you were not able to do that, then you need to email me and we need to talk about that. But even with your mentor teacher, it might be that you can still email and communicate with her if you have questions about the group of students that you are going to be delivering the lesson. I don't want to bother teachers at this very stressful time, but I think, what I'm not suggesting you do is email them like 10 times to ask a bunch of questions, but maybe if you see what you need and really craft a nice email, sending one email to that on-site teacher would be appropriate, and just say, this is how my teacher is changing our assignment. We're still going to craft the lesson. I need a couple things from you. Would you be able to tell me X, Y, and Z? And so that's how I would handle that situation. I will take those and then give you feedback as I would otherwise. But what we will do, instead of you implementing and reflecting on that, I haven't really totally decided about this, but what I'm thinking that you might do is we might have an activity with our small group where you share your lessons and get some, almost like, I don't know, like role playing or a simulation is what I'm thinking of, some sort, so that your group members can kind of envision how this lesson might go and give you some feedback. So I have to think about that a little more, and that will come later in the end of the term, but something where they can say, well, did you think about this? Or this might happen if you do this. How might you change it to so that that doesn't happen. Or I think this is a really great part of your lesson. I'm anticipating that kids might do this. In that case, how might you react, or how might you change it, or how might that give you information that you design this lesson in an appropriate way? So that's what I'm kind of thinking, is that part two might be more of an activity, and then I will have you all reflect on that sharing that you do with your small group. But that's just kind of in the works right now. I'm still kind of thinking about how I want to piece that together, but I just want you to know what to expect. So anyway, that changes just a little bit our grading and evaluation. You still have some of the old things that we already accomplished in class, but I've added some areas, really just the discussion sessions that you'll do over the next 5 weeks, to our points. So those are the things that I felt like were really important. Let me see if there's anything. Oh, and then I created a new course calendar for you down here. So I've put the topics, anything that's assigned, or the due dates, and the readings there that you will need for the next 5 weeks. And so I've had to kind of move some things around and compact them. I haven't moved anything with the facilitation of discussions. Those are all the same, but I did have to move some topics around. The creativity week is a really, there's a lot to review. I hate it because it's my favorite thing to do with you all in this class, because I have all these great activities to stop and do and learn about creative thinking. But we'll just have to figure that out next week, how to do that virtually. And then you can see I put affective and technology together, and then a week with leadership, independent study, research, and mentorship. And then that last week, we'll do public relations, advocacy, resources, and money. So that is kind of how I have reworked the schedule. So anyway, I've done a lot of talking at you, but I thought it was important that you just hear from me and know the things that have changed and how we will proceed for the rest of the term. So please let me know if you have any questions. I have created a checklist in week 11, and so that's what will let you know what you need to do each week. So there's 9 or 10 things in there to get started on for this week, and I will be available through email if you have any questions. So thanks everybody, and we're in this together. We can do it.